Pablo, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? How's things, Pablo? Johnny, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Comatose, how was your birthday, Miles? It was great. Good to see you as well. How you doing, Comatose? How you been? Hello, Miles. Scott, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? How's things, brother? What's up, Miles? What's up, CMF? What's up? Kerry, good to see you as well. How you doing, brother? How you been? I hope that you had a great weekend. I had a great weekend. I definitely did. Let's go, Scott. Hi, Miles. Exciting weekend for XRP. It definitely was. That's true. Let's go, Autistic. Seems like eventful couple of days. How come such a drop in prices? Great question, Johnny. There's one particular reason why there was a price drop, essentially, and that was timing. Because on one side of the market space, we had the biggest announcement pretty much ever for XRP, you could say. One of the biggest announcements for XRP, and Solana, Cardano, and then Bitcoin, Ethereum joining the party too. But then on Monday, which is today, we had tariffs, which impacted the price of the market space. But we're going to talk more on that, essentially, of why the market space has dropped slightly, but it's not going to be a long-lasting effect in any sort of a way. But we'll go for it. How was your birthday celebration? It was great, Carrie. Good. Let's go. How was your birthday? It was good. Let's go, Pablo. Good evening. JP, good to see you. How you doing, brother? How you been? Good day, Miles. Hope you had a great birthday. I definitely did. Let's go, Mike. Good evening, all. JP, let's go. Let's go, Miles. CMF, let's go, Davey. Happy birthday. Thank you so much, Autistic, for the kind words. Honestly. Let's do intro, disclaimer, and what we're going to go from tonight's live. Good. Thanks for asking. You deserve your time, and you're back. Yay. Let's go, Scott. Hi, Miles of CMF. Dennis, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Hi, Miles G. Good to see you. How you doing? How you been? So, it's good to be back. I'll be very honest. It's very good to be back. Welcome to the CMF Live. If you're watching this for the first time ever, the CMF stands for Crypto Miles Family. My name is Miles. I'm the host of this live you're watching right now. And this is episode 272 of the CMF Live. And in this live, I talk about the most recent news that's happening around the world in terms of cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, AI, politics, regulations. Basically, vital information you should know about regarding the world completely transforming into a digital space. We also do Q&As in this live as well, which means if you do have any questions, put it down inside the comment section. We're more than happy to answer the questions you may have. And I read out everybody's questions as well, and I don't skip on any whatsoever. And the disclaimer of this live, as always, is not financial advice, not political advice, and whatever I say is only for entertainment purposes. So, welcome to the CMF Live. If you're watching this for the first time ever, and if you're a regular, let's go CMF. And also, I just want to take a second just to say thank you so much to everybody who's liked this live on X. I'm getting notifications right now from X. Thanks so much to everyone who's liked this live on X, who's retweeted this live on X. Also put a comment outside the live on X, hashtag the XRP Army as well, and like each other's comments on the essentially post of this live on X. And thanks so much to everyone on YouTube who's watching right now, who's also liked the live and put a comment outside the live as well. Now, let's go through the comment section first before we go through the news, because there's a lot of news circulating right now. And it's incredible news, to be fairly honest. Yes, the market is slightly down. We had one of the biggest announcements yesterday regarding what Trump has just said of what's going to be a crypto reserve for the United States of America, which is XRP, essentially Cardano, Solana, Bitcoin, and Ethereum were added to the party later on, which is incredible news. But then why is the market down today, which we're essentially going to be talking about. And I'm also going to be revealing to you what else is going to be happening this particular month. March is a very special month. The reason why March is a very special month is because there's a lot of deadlines happening in March. Very important deadlines for the crypto space, which we're going to go through on tonight's live. So before we go through any of those news, essentially, let's go inside the comment section first, and then we go straight towards the news. So let's see where we were at first inside the comment section. We were here. George, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Shelly, morning, Miles and CMF. I hope you've recovered from all the birthday celebrations, Miles. Does this mean you have to be a grown-up now? Yes, Shelly, good to see you. How you doing? How you been, Shelly? Yes, I'm a grown-up now. I'm 30 years old. Turned 30, if anybody wants to know. I turned 30 on the 1st of March, which already passed. So I'm 30 years old now. Yes, that means I'm a grown-up. Did you get any sloppy toppy? We're going to skip that one, Kerry. Tariffs. JP, yes, that's facts. Congratulations, episode 272. Let's go. Share the live. Hi, Miles. Welcome back. Happy birthday. Let's go, Alex. Thanks so much for the kind words, brother. Thank you so much for the birthday wishes. Evening, Miles and Lee. Good to see you. How you doing? How you been, Lee? The market went down so that I can buy more XRP, XLM, XDC, and HBAR cheaply. Best way to look at it, I'll be very honest. Good evening, Miles and CMF. Denise, good to see you. How you doing? How you been, Denise? Good evening, Miles. Hope you're well, mate. Let's go, Addy. How you doing? Perfect timing. Because we're about to go into the live, the first news, essentially on tonight's live. So, Trump makes the biggest announcement, one of the biggest announcements for the entire crypto space on Sunday, which is XRP, Solana, Cardano are going to be a part of the American, essentially, reserve. And then he made it essentially another tweet after that saying Bitcoin and Ethereum will obviously be joining the party too. So we had a major announcement on the weekend, but then the weekday started and the market dumped. Reasonings why? Well, it's because of this, but it's temporarily, which I've explained before. But here it is. Market plummets after Trump's tariff announcements. The cryptocurrency market experienced a rapid decline following a significant announcement essentially by President Donald Trump, which initially sparked a surge in Bitcoin and altcoin prices. Just hours after a bullish trend, the market faced a dramatic downturn, leaving many inside the crypto community absolutely puzzled and frustrated. The spike in cryptocurrency volumes was essentially triggered by the announcement regarding the crypto reserve. However, Trump's essentially comments regarding potential tariffs on foreign agricultural products and their implications for inflation set prices plummeting inside the crypto space. Starting April 2nd, the imposition essentially of these tariffs has raised concerns about raising food prices and economic instability. So because of those types of pressures, the market decided to take a swing downwards. Is this going to have long-lasting effects inside the market space? No. Max 24 hours. Actually, you know what? Minimum 24 hours, max 48 hours. We'll move on. The market will have some other news inside of it. Trump's announcements has also impacted U.S. stock essentially markets. Regarding the losses from investors react to tariffs plans, and farmers were urged to shift their focus to domestic essentially sales aimed at the revised GDP growth forecast by essentially sales and the Atlanta Fed, which now essentially projects a significant drop from 2.3% to minus 2.8% for the first quarter of the year. Additionally, Trump's critical essentially stance on Ukraine and the opening geopolitical tensions have further dampened market sentiments. Just want to point out, a lot of people hated the way Trump treated Zelensky at the White House essentially. I particularly thought Trump did the right thing. I'll be very honest. Trump is trying to go for peace. It's very obvious he's trying to go for peace. But some people see it as, no, we should be helping essentially Ukraine in this unknown battle that Ukraine will never win in their entire lifetimes, because it's a losing battle for Ukraine. Ukraine can go into a war for 1,000 years against Putin and still lose over 1,000 years. I don't know why people can't just see the bigger picture. That Russia versus Ukraine is like a landmine versus a bug. That's pretty much how you can explain Ukraine versus Russia. And Putin could have ended this war day one, but because of, human rights and so on, they're not able to use their most advanced weaponaries on Ukraine for many reasons. But they could have ended this war a long time ago on Ukraine. But Ukraine is just becoming a money pit. And a lot of people can't see that. Some people don't see it as money laundering. Some people see it as we must stand in front of Putin and fight against Putin. Well, the longer we essentially uphold this imaginary battle that we think Ukraine is going to win in any sort of a way against Russia, the longer the fuel prices are going to increase, especially in Europe, for example, and in the UK. And the longer the food prices are going to go higher, the more we essentially imagine we're going to win against Russia, because Ukraine is going to come out victorious in some sort of a way. This isn't Hollywood, it's real life. Ukraine is never going to win this war. So the longer we, essentially keep on going, we're going to hate Putin for some unknown reason, the longer the prices go up. And guess for who? The retail section. Not the politicians who have £5 million houses and come on the TV news and say, well, it's going to be difficult times this year. We're going to have to raise the tax breaks. Everybody's going to have some difficult lives. And the guy mentioning these words lives in a £5 million house, while people are listening at home while paying rent. It's very strange, the world we live in. Now, So honestly, a lot of people essentially hate the way Trump treated Zelensky. I think he treated Zelensky as he should have. I think he did a great job chucking him out of the White House. US essentially manufacturing, highlighted by disappointing PMI figures, has compounded the issues, resulting in an overall negative atmosphere essentially for cryptocurrencies and stock market alike. Bitcoin and altcoin prices soared after a positive announcement. Trump's tariff cement essentially comments sparked a swift market decline regarding the tariff situation. Stock markets are also facing increased losses due to economic forecasts. Geopolitical tensions continue to undermine market confidence, and the rapid fluctuations in cryptocurrency values reveal the vulnerabilities of the market to external, essentially political and economic factors. As traders adjust their strategies in light of these developments, the future of cryptocurrency remains uncertain, and essentially dependent on the unfolding of both domestic and international events. What Trump is trying to do, essentially, with tariffs, a lot of people also see tariffs as a bad thing when Trump does them. Tariffs are actually going to be very positive for the United States and for the rest of the world. Now, the reason why tariffs will be actually good for the rest of the world as we move on, tariffs are very bad at the beginning. But once we pass through the tariff stage, things will get a lot more better. And tariffs need to happen. I've always been in favor of tariffs because America was losing its spot as number one to China. The longer Biden's administration was essentially in charge of and so on. But now with Trump coming in, this tariff plan he has going on is actually going to work. It's because it's going to make more countries realize that we actually need the US, which is actually better than relying on China, because that's what's going to happen the more we neglect Trump or the United States, because we're going to have to get our energy from somewhere. The UK, the EU, they have to get their energy from somewhere. They can't get it from Putin because for some reason they hate Putin. So where are they going to get it from? India? Because India gets it from Russia. Where are they going to get it from? So it's just stupid. This entire war with Ukraine and Russia is just stupid. The longer it carries on, the worse it gets for regular people. And unfortunately, regular people, not everyone, but the majority of the world are morons. Hence why the world is the way it is. Because before Trump, everybody wanted to end the war with Ukraine. After Trump comes into power and says he's going to end the war with Ukraine, people are saying, no, we want to continue the war. It's odd. It's very odd. But in general, tariffs, what's the impact on the crypto market space? Is it long-term? No. Max 48 hours, the market will change to some other news. So if you're worried about tariffs, don't worry. Don't be worried about tariffs in any sort of a way. We've had tariff news before, and the long-lasting effects of tariffs inside the market space are either 24 hours, 36 hours, or 48 hours. After that, some other news comes in. It's either good or bad for the market space, and we go either way. So don't be too depressed by the tariff situation. Focus on the bigger picture, which is one, Trump signed an executive order for a crypto reserve, and two, he made the announcement of which crypto projects are inside that reserve. And three, the SEC is still dropping cases one by one, which is incredibly bullish. So don't let the good news be overshadowed by the moronic news that's going on, pretty much on CNN or any other news channel. But in general, and then you also get essentially not just, people who hate Trump for no apparent reason regarding the whole Ukraine situation, but you also get morons like this. So, for example, one moron decided to go on a TV channel, on a news channel. And this is the moron. Millionaire Anthony, who is also crypto-friendly, by the way, calls US altcoin reserve insanity and explains why it's not viable. So a millionaire who is also in the, essentially, you could say the crypto market space and Wall Street. So he has a very good background in trading. He understands how things work inside of Wall Street, and he's also very crypto-friendly. But for some reason, he hates the idea that Trump created also a basket of reserve currencies and not just Bitcoin. So US President Donald Trump's proposal to create a cryptocurrency street reserve has sparked a huge backlash, with financial essentially experts and investor Anthony describing the idea as crazy on what Trump has done by creating a reserve for XRP or Cardano, essentially Solana. Why should they be essentially included is what Anthony's trying to say. Speaking at the Vanerian call, the founder and CEO of Professional Capital Management expressed skepticism about the inclusion of multiple cryptocurrencies in a proposed reserve. The plan, which reportedly involves holding 5 or 6 different digital assets, has drawn comparisons to a hedge fund. And Anthony questioned how the government would determine the allocation of these assets within the reserve, as in which gets the more essentially side of the pie. Does XRP get a bigger piece of the pie compared to Cardano, essentially Solana, or Bitcoin Ethereum, or is it the other way around? Well, Anthony, it's very simple to tell which asset is going to get the bigger piece of the pie. It's about what each asset brings to the table. So let's just take a quick glance at it. What does Bitcoin bring to the table? Limited supply. That's pretty much it. And speculation on price. What does Ethereum bring to the table? High cost, high gas fees, scalable. Ethereum brings to the table scalable and high gas fees and congested network. What does Solana bring to the table? Meme coins. What does essentially Cardano bring to the table? Cardano actually brings a bit to the table regarding the moving into tokenization and so on. What does XRP bring to the table? Well, fast, cheap, secure, scalable. So we can easily tell which asset is going to get more in terms of allegations, in terms of the allocations of the money that's going to be flowing into it as we move along. Any moron could have told you that, Anthony. I know I just call myself a moron, but it's so basic. I don't know why Anthony had to make such a big deal of it on a news channel on such a good day for cryptocurrencies, just to add on top of the tariff situations. And, you know, for example, Anthony goes on and says, with the reserve particularly, how could it balance assets like Bitcoin and Solana? How do you decide if you want more Solana and less Bitcoin? How do you do that? And essentially not know all the details yet. But from what we know right now, it's crazy that he's added all of these altcoins, including Bitcoin, with them. Anthony noted that Trump's initial campaign discussions revolved essentially around a Bitcoin-only strict reserve. It's true. When Trump first announced he's going to do some sort of a reserve, he was doing it at a Bitcoin event when he mentioned he's going to do a Bitcoin reserve. But obviously, as Trump got more knowledge regarding blockchain, regarding how many meetings Trump had with blockchain CEOs and executives and board members and CFOs and CTOs, he came to the realization that there's more to cryptocurrencies than Bitcoin. You see, even Trump came to the realization that there is more to cryptocurrencies than just Bitcoin. Maybe Trump could share his knowledge with the Bitcoin maxis, because there is more to crypto than just Bitcoin. Now, regarding essentially Anthony, he noted that Trump's initial campaign of discussions regarding Bitcoin strict reserves and emphasizing essentially Bitcoin's limited supply and status as a global store of value. However, recent reports suggest that the reserve could essentially include multiple US-based cryptocurrencies rebranded as American First Crypto Initiative, which it did. Bitcoin, Anthony goes on to say, is a streak because essentially it has a limited supply. Now, a lot of Bitcoin maxis play a little bit loose with this whole, title of limited supply when it comes to Bitcoin. Yes, Bitcoin does have a limited supply, but even BlackRock talked about how they can't guarantee it to their clients that Bitcoin supply will always remain the same. If we're essentially adding random altcoins, Anthony says, to the reserve, why not Tesla? Why not add stocks? Why not add Tesla stocks, GameStop, or hedge fund interests? So Anthony decides to make fun of altcoins for no apparent reason. He also then goes on to say, Bitcoin reserves have become a growing trend among some countries, including El Salvador, Bhutan, Russia, and the UAE. The Abu Dhabi Sovereign Wealth Fund has also reportedly started buying Bitcoin. Noted that these countries view Bitcoin similarly to gold and hold it as essentially as a streak asset. As I've said before, the title of digital gold should not be applied to something that doesn't react like gold. It's very simple. If, for example, Ukraine and Russia decide to go on a full-on war, let's just say starting tomorrow, Ukraine and Russia and the EU go into war starting tomorrow. What's going to happen to the price of Bitcoin? Price of Bitcoin is going to come down. What's going to happen to the price of gold? Up. Why do we keep on calling Bitcoin digital gold when it doesn't react like gold in any sort of a way? Honestly, just think about it, just for a quick second. Russia, Ukraine, and the EU go to war tomorrow. What happens to the price of Bitcoin? Comes down. Gold? Up. So why is Bitcoin called digital gold when it doesn't react like it? Or why is the title risk-off asset given to Bitcoin? Because it's not a risk-off asset. It's more like a risk-on asset. So a lot of people, regarding these Bitcoin maxis, they play with the titles too much. And none of them apply to Bitcoin. Risk off asset doesn't apply to Bitcoin. Digital gold doesn't apply to Bitcoin. It doesn't react like any of them. It's like me putting a bicycle in the same category as a Bugatti Veyron and saying, well, it has wheels, so it's a car. That's not how it works. Countries are treating Bitcoin, he said, like gold and stockpiling on their balance sheets. That's not strict value, he said. Anthony suggested that Trump's inclusion of essentially multiple cryptocurrencies could be a negotiating tactic. He suggested that initial plans could be starting point and would eventually result in Bitcoin-only reserves. Anthony suggested that we could only be looking towards a Bitcoin reserve-only asset. It's interesting, Anthony, that you said we're only going to be looking towards a Bitcoin reserve asset. Trump's first original tweet didn't even include Bitcoin. The only reason his second tweet included essentially Bitcoin is because the Bitcoin maxis were crying about it. So he decided to make a second tweet and say, oh, obviously we'll add Bitcoin and Ethereum. That's pretty much what happened. If he was aiming for a Bitcoin only eventually, he would have mentioned Bitcoin in the first tweet. The only reason he mentioned the first tweet is because you cried about it, Anthony, and the rest of you Bitcoin maxis. So he decided to throw you a bone and include you in the second tweet. If you also think about the art of deal, Anthony says, maybe he wants 5 or 6 assets, but he only is willing to negotiate down to Bitcoin. No, he isn't. Bitcoin maxis are genuinely delusional on a whole nother level. Again, if essentially Trump wanted a Bitcoin reserve, he would have announced a Bitcoin reserve. He's not working his way down to Bitcoin in any sort of a way. He suggested adding, I don't know if that's what he's doing, but I hope so. Don't hold your breath is what I would say, Anthony, because he's not aiming for a Bitcoin reserve only. He didn't mention Bitcoin in his first tweet. He mentioned his second tweet because he's throwing you a bone. Honestly, the level of delusion from Bitcoin maxis was just, completely on another level. But also, another thing that baffles me, why is it that people like Anthony, who are, hedge fund heads, asset management firms, Wall Street heads, people who are in Wall Street, who have 5, 10 years, 15 years experience, 20 years experience on Wall Street. Now, Wall Street has a lot of rules that traders abide by. I'm not talking about the SEC rules or essentially the CFTC rules and so on. I'm talking about as a rule of, being a trader, which is one of the earlier ones, and there's many, but one of the earlier ones is don't keep all your eggs in the same basket. Every trader knows this. Every financial advisor will tell their clients to diversify, but never over-diversify, but diversify according to your budget. So I don't know why Bitcoin maxis always get surprised, or Anthony in this case, who comes out and goes, I don't know why Trump did this. Why would he choose a lot of assets and make it into one basket? Anthony, are you not a trader? Pretty much one of the earliest rules was don't put all your eggs in one basket. But for some reason, it's just, I don't know what's happening. It's like Bitcoin maxis and then reality. It's just not going through. Honestly, it's like Bitcoin maxis, reality. It's just bouncing off. For some reason, the information just won't pass through. These people are absolutely deluded. Because if Anthony was sitting in a Wall Street, essentially, conference, let's say, and they were talking about diversification, Anthony would say, yeah, diversification is great for a portfolio. But when it comes to a crypto reserve, no, diversification is bad. Eggs all in one basket, Bitcoin only. Honestly, this is why I say reality is just, it's not going through. Delusion is completely passing through, but reality gets stuck. So on the whole tariff situation that came out, people like Anthony, and he wasn't the only one, decided to go on news channels and pile on top of the tariff situations. But it's not all doom and gloom. There's a lot of things happening inside the crypto space that's extremely positive. But once again, it's been overshadowed by some particular other news. But let me give you the good side. A lot of things that are happening behind the background, let's just say. which is US lawmakers, for example, Tom Hemmer and Richie Torres, team up to create another crypto group. Now, where is this crypto group going to be? Well, the House Republican Tom Hemmer and Democratic Richie Torres are working together to launch a congressional crypto caucus, a baptism essentially group that will focus on supporting digital asset policies in the House of Representatives. So we have a crypto task force that was created by the SEC, which is extremely bullish because they're doing positive work by dropping essentially crypto cases one by one. Kraken was another one that got dropped today as a court case. And then you have the CFTC that turned enforcement action essentially into two departments, one to combat fraud and the other one to help the crypto space. We have Trump signing executive orders and for essentially America to become the capital of cryptocurrencies. And we have essentially House representatives creating their own crypto groups. On top of, David Sachs being the crypto Caesar for Trump or any other American state that's creating also some sort of crypto group, we have House of Congress also thinking about, creating their own, House of Representatives creating their own essentially crypto group. This is different from the congressional essentially blockchain caucus that was actually formed some years ago in 2017. This new essentially group will serve as a voting bloc to push for legislation that is towards a positive for cryptocurrencies. According to Hemmer, the group was created because millions of voters in last year's November election supported candidates who wanted to push forward for crypto policies, which is true. And as you can see, you're seeing, all those things that Trump was saying, America becoming capital of cryptocurrencies. You can see all the positiveness that is happening around them. And regarding that, this group serves as an ideological, unified, non-partisan group of members that can quickly mobilize to support key digital asset initiatives in Congress. He said in an interview with Fox essentially business reporter Eleanor Terrett, "We will continue to work to ensure the United States remains the best place in the world to build and innovate when it comes to cryptocurrencies or the next essential revolution of the internet." Torres also explained that the goal essentially of the group is to ensure that the United States remains a leader in blockchain technology and to promote innovation. Meanwhile, Congress is rushing in to develop rules for crypto essentially for the entire industry. And Donald Trump, president of the essentially United States, has made it clear that he wants the US to become the crypto capital of the planet and therefore increasing the urgency for lawmakers to act. And right now, 2 stablecoin bills are under review by the House of Representatives, with some leaders inside the crypto space actively providing essentially their input. Meanwhile, in the Senate, the Genius Act, which is another stablecoin act, will be introduced by Tennessee Senator Bill. It is expected to be essentially discussed next week by the Banking Committee. And Senator Tim Scott, the chairman of the Senate Banking Committee, has also set a goal to have a stablecoin and a market structure bill passed and signed by essentially into law by April 2025. However, it's unclear if there'll be enough essentially support for both political parties to make this happen. Well, there are 2 bills on the table. To be fairly honest, there are 2 bills on the table. One of them is going to pass. It's either going to be the Genius Act or the original stablecoin bill, or there's going to be some sort of editing in between. But in general, there's a lot of positiveness happening. Regarding the CFPB pro-crypto, CFTC pro-crypto, SEC dropping cases back-to-back pro-crypto, Trump, his second announcement regarding crypto assets, first was the executive order, and then he followed through by naming the cryptocurrencies in the reserve asset. And we're still within the early days of Trump's presidency. A lot of things are happening. And then we have essentially American states trying to apply for some sort of crypto reserve and creating their essential own group of cryptocurrencies. Then we have the David Sachs of crypto Caesars. And then essentially we have House of Representatives creating their own crypto group as well. There's a lot of things happening. A lot of good things happening for the crypto space. But sometimes that good news gets overshadowed by tariff news or millionaires like Anthony who go and cry about it on news channels because they're not happy that Trump chose XRP or Cardano or Solana and he wanted only Bitcoin. Well, the only thing people like Anthony can do is cry about this, I'll be honest, because that's just it. That's what the crypto reserve is going to become. Obviously, I think more crypto assets are going to be added to the reserve as time goes by, which is going to make things a lot more depressing for the Bitcoin maxis. But who cares about them? I care about a level playing field. I think that's always been essentially the better scenario. But yeah, But in general, there's a lot of positiveness happening inside of Congress, inside the House of Representatives, inside the SEC, inside the CFTC, CFPB, OCC. There's a lot of FDIC. There's a lot of positiveness happening regarding all these departments, and they're all pro-crypto. Every single one of them. Every single one of them hated crypto under Biden. Now, every single one of them pro-crypto under Trump. What I'm trying to say in the most simplest way is don't essentially get bothered down by this tariff situation too much, because the market is going to go back up again. Not financial advice in any sort of a way, but it's going to go back up again. Because remember what I said on Thursday. On episode 271 of this live, which was on Thursday, because Friday I took a day off, and Saturday was my birthday, and then Sunday, Monday, now it's today, Monday. So on Thursday, I said to everybody, one of my father's favorite quotes, which was, don't look at the tip of your nose, look further. I said, when you look at the tip of your nose, if anybody remembers this, on Thursday, I said to everybody, and all my lives are automatically posted after live is done. I don't edit any of my lives in any sort of way. And I said to everybody on Thursday, when there was no crypto, essentially, there was no announcements from Trump regarding which crypto assets he's chosen, I said to everybody, because everybody was a bit down, everybody thought the market's over, everybody thought we're going to go into some drastic bear market, everybody was on panic mode. And I came on Thursday, as I always do on every live show, and I give you what's actually happening. And I said to everybody, one of my father's favorite quotes is, don't look at the tip of your nose. I said, when you look at the tip of your nose on Thursday, I said, all you're seeing is tariffs, you're seeing market manipulation, you're seeing this and that. And then when I said, if you look beyond the tip of your nose, you're seeing the SEC dropping cases one by one. You see the crypto executive order that was signed by Trump. I said, you essentially see the CFTC, you see the CFTC being pro-crypto, you see the FDIC pro-crypto, you see that pro-crypto and that pro-crypto. And I just went on and on. And I said, if you look beyond the tip of your nose, you see all of that. But I said, if you look at the tip of your nose, you're seeing that drastic panic mode, bear market, tariff situation. And then we move on to Sunday, where that big announcement came from Trump, crypto reserve. That's on Saturday to Sunday. So what I'm trying to say again is a lot of people are saying, well, why is the market down again? Don't get distracted. Look beyond the tip of your nose, because beyond the tip of your nose, a lot of things are happening. And the newest addition is, one, the SEC dropped another case regarding the blockchain space, and two, the House of Representatives is about to be creating their own crypto essentially group as well, to push, in their words, more crypto regulations. That's a positive. But news like that gets overshadowed by tariff situations, because CNN likes to blast anything regarding Trump and make it look evil, which in reality, tariffs are not bad. They're actually a good thing in the long term. But anyways, don't look at the tip of your nose, look beyond. So if anybody's still wondering to themselves, why is the market dropped? What's happening again? Don't look at the tip of your nose. I said to everybody, don't look at the tip of your nose on Thursday when everybody was slightly a bit down. I said, look beyond that. And when you look beyond that, we went into Sunday, because I said something is brewing. We went into essentially Saturday, Sunday. Trump announced his XRP, Solana, Cardano, essentially reserve assets. And then once again, we come to this stage where tariffs happened, and people are again, sometimes, some people, not all, but the majority of people, again, are looking at the tip of their nose. Look beyond that. Trust me, look beyond the tip of your nose, because there's a lot of things happening inside the crypto space, especially inside the United States, which is all extremely positive. So don't get bogged down and don't get distracted by the noise. Now, Trump's crypto reserve could send Bitcoin to $500,000. Whose perspective is that? Standard Chartered Bank. Standard Chartered Bank today has came up with a new perspective of where they think the market's going to be playing out now, since Trump has made his announcements of which assets are involved inside the crypto reserve. And they talked about the other essential assets as well, XRP, Solana, Cardano, and so on. Now, before we talk about any of that, let's go inside the comment section first. As I said previously, this is live, which means if you do have any questions, put it down inside the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. So let's go inside the comment section first, and then we'll go straight into the next news regarding Standard Chartered Bank. Let's see where we're at. We were at here. Yeah, we're here. Good day, Miles and CMF. Orphan, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Miles, last year you were ill. This year you were well and hopefully had a great time. Let's go, Scott. Good evening, Miles and CMF. How are you? Callie, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Johnny says, why wasn't XLM XDC mentioned as a reserve currency? In my opinion, there's going to be more assets added to the reserve. He started off with 3 and then threw Bitcoin and Ethereum a bone. But he's going to add more currencies to the reserve asset. Did you have a good weekend? I had a great weekend. Let's go, Orphan. What's up, Miles? Saludo from New York in the Valley. Let's go, Joes. How you doing? How you been? Again, say it, Miles. Let's go, Davey. Greetings, Miles and CMF. Did you have a blast on your birthday? I did. I had a very good time on my birthday. Davey, say it again, Miles. Thank God Donald Trump won. Crypto Miles, let's go. Yeah, thank God Donald Trump won. I will always say that. I said November 7th, 2024, American first. Let's go, Scott. I enjoyed watching Zelensky getting kicked out of the White House. Zelensky had to go to McDonald's for lunch. I'm not a Trump fan. I do agree with some of the things he's trying to do. Let's go, Scott. You're coming to the good side, Scott. Slowly, slowly. I did not like the Science Friday at the White House. I'm not used to seeing leaders act like that in public with one another. I left you a voice message for your birthday on X. I would not forget my favorite fellow Pisces, man. Let's go, happy Pisces. Thank you so much for that. I'll take a listen to it after the live. Evening, Miles and CMF. And Pierce, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Good evening, Miles and family. Flea XRP, good to see you. How you doing? How you been, brother? Evening, Miles and CMF. Manny, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Greetings, Miles and CMF. Hope you had a great birthday, brother. I did. Let's go. How you doing, Ray, as well? Miles, sir, you look a bit tired. Don't forget to take care of yourself, sir. TVRF, let's go. I definitely will. The market dump is most likely manipulation or liquidity grab. The market dump is based on tariff situations, but yes, manipulation is also a factor in. I agree. See, Davey, let's go. Eric Trump called his daddy and asked them to mention Bitcoin and Ethereum. I mean, look, I'll be honest. They definitely threw Bitcoin and Ethereum a bone. Let's just be honest with ourselves. Why do you have a fake background? I like the background. What's wrong with the background? Why do some people just come inside the live and comment why the fake background? Because I like the background. Stellar advice, outstanding. Let's go. Miles, how long do you feel it will take for the reserve to be developed? How long do I think? Okay, you're just mentioning the same thing. How long do I think? Miles, how do you feel? How long do you, Miles? How long do you feel it will take for the reserve to be developed? How long do I think for the reserve is going to take for it to be developed? Depends on the paperwork. It could be a few months. It could be a few weeks. Just depends on how fast they move along. I'll be very honest. Hi, Miles of CMF. Good to see you, Stormy. How you doing? I think quarter 2 to quarter 3 we should be good to go. Miles, you're a comedy. You're a comedy. One thing prevents me from coming over to the other side. Is VeChain on the reserve? No, VeChain is not on the reserve. Now, Trump's crypto reserve could send Bitcoin to $500,000. A perspective coming in from Standard Chartered Bank. So Standard Chartered Bank's executives, it's not their first time giving their perspectives essentially on. Okay, I don't have time for this. Oh, interesting. If I can't. So, Standard Chartered Bank's executives, it's not their first time giving their perspectives on the market space. And they've given out a few perspectives, I'll be very honest, last year and this year, and they're hitting the marks. And this is a new one. Standard Chartered Bank's executives, Jeff Kendrick, drew Bitcoin essentially back to its $500,000 targets after Donald Trump revealed plans for the US crypto reserves. The crypto reserves include Bitcoin together with Ethereum, as well as XRP, Solana, and Cardano, that could establish a long-term stability within the cryptocurrency market space. Jeff essentially states that Trump's strict reserves initiative has the potential to decrease essentially Bitcoin's risk while allowing slow, essentially price increases, which would increase the asset's investor belief in the asset class. And the crypto market started showing fluctuations. The announcement leading to essentially Bitcoin's rise from $85,000 all the way up to $95,000, then stabilizing near $93,000. Though through his social essentially platform, Truth Socials, on Sunday, President Trump proclaimed his crypto working group would initiate procedures to establish essentially a crypto reserve that would focus on these assets. And this planned reserve centers its attention on digital assets like, for example, Bitcoin, Ethereum, along with XRP, Solana, and Cardano, as it represents a major US governmental essentially advancements in regarding cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin's price is skyrocketed more than 10% after news, essentially this, and causing it to touch $95,000 for a brief period. Before stabilizing at around $93,000, the price of Cardano rose by 40%, while XRP's price gained 30% in market value. And Jeff, the head of digital assets at Standard Chartered Bank Research, remarked that Trump's move could eliminate negative market outcomes, offering room for further growth. And Kendrick essentially noted that Bitcoin could become an increasingly stable component of global essential portfolios, all the other assets that were chosen for reserve asset as well. Now, serving as a hedge against the current challenges faced by traditional finance. Jeff also maintains his forecast of the $500,000 price tag for Bitcoin value by 2028, because the market has evolved from people selling excitement to buying periods of lower value. Jeff also described Bitcoin's price as essentially directly linked to the increasing accessibility of investors towards Bitcoin's markets. And according to his assessments, the Bitcoin price will increase throughout the time due to wider US states, investors' involvements. And according essentially to Jeff, that Bitcoin's reserve programs launched by Trump has the possibility of inspiring state governments to form their own holdings. Now, just want to point this out. It's not just a Bitcoin reserve. Originally, it was an XRP, Solana, Cardano reserve. Bitcoin, Ethereum joined the party late. So, for the love of God, people stop saying it's a Bitcoin reserve, what Trump has announced. It was technically an XRP reserve because the first asset he mentioned was XRP, but we'll go with the idea of basket of cryptocurrencies rather than just calling it a Bitcoin reserve, because it isn't. Now, essentially, the planned oriented essentially basket of cryptocurrencies changes would result in states pooling vast amounts and going towards these crypto assets, which would essentially help establish market stability together with increased legitimacy. In his forecast, Jeff maintains that Bitcoin is on track to reach $200,000 due to this announcement by the end of 2025, with further increases to $300,000 by 2026 and $400,000 by 2027. And ultimately $500,000 by the end of 2028. This outlook aligns with the broader expectations that Bitcoin is becoming a more accessible and secure asset for institutional and retail essentially investors alike. I'll be honest, XRP is a better asset, just being fairly honest here. But this is Standard Chartered Bank's essentially, perspective on the matter. Trump's announcement comes just days before the White House Crypto Summit on March 7th. There's a big thing happening regarding March 7th, where the market is hoping for a concrete policy news, because that is what essentially we're missing inside when it comes to cryptocurrencies, because we have the executive order from Trump, the original executive order, amazing. Then we have the Trump announcement of a crypto, what assets are on the crypto reserve, even better. Yeah, what we need next is the SEC to completely drop any cases left. That's these major essentially crypto cases. Nobody cares about the minor ones, but the major cryptocurrency cases, and then to work on the rules and regulations side, because that's the only thing that's missing from cryptocurrencies. Because Trump, in my opinion, has done his part and is still doing his part for the crypto community, signing that executive order, announcing which crypto projects are part of the reserve. Just the SEC left. They're still dropping cases one by one. As I said, they dropped another one cracking case, which we're going to go through on tonight's live. But the SEC needs to work a little bit quicker on time, especially in the terms of regulations, because that is the final factor holding cryptocurrencies back that have utility purpose. That's the only factor that's holding them back, regulations. Once regulations comes through, then it's going to be interesting. because this whole momentum of following Bitcoin for every cryptocurrency just stops. The more institutions and banks get involved, as I said pretty much a year ago, the more institutions and banks that get involved inside the crypto space, which all these contracts that happened a long time ago, the detaching will happen from Bitcoin. So that's when the interesting part happens regarding cryptocurrencies. The only reason we follow Bitcoin, the only reason everybody follows Bitcoin's footsteps inside the crypto space is because there's no regulations. And once those regulations start falling through, why would they follow Bitcoin? Because the contracts that Ripple has in place to essentially be using XRP with all these institutions and banks, Bitcoin's not involved in those contracts. Same goes essentially for XLM or XDC or AVAX or Cardano or Solana or Ethereum. The list goes on. That's when things get really interesting regarding detaching. And that's when utility happens, which ironically, it's something that Bitcoin has been missing for a very long time because it's too congested and too slow, and it's definitely not scalable. Now, regarding March 7th, essentially what's happening around that time, where the market is hoping for some policy news, regulations is what we're missing. Jeff called the current market optimism a Trump put for crypto, like the Fed put in stocks. How the Fed comes out and, essentially is a positive or negative for the stock market, which now we follow the stock market. Trump is the up and down for the crypto market. This means that just as the Federal Reserve intervenes in stocks, Trump's policies will be a safety net for crypto investors. Despite the recent rally, Kendrick warned that the market may still be volatile in the short term. And February was essentially BTC's, Bitcoin's worst month since June 2022. But the weekend it bounced back, suggesting the market is regaining confidence, or regaining confidence towards what Trump announces. As the crypto market awaits for further developments, particularly essentially the first ever White House Crypto Summit, optimism remains a high for Bitcoin and other essential cryptocurrencies. Investors will also be closely watching for concrete policy shifts that could further solidify the US leadership in the digital asset space. Now, we're going to go through a lot more deadlines on tonight's live because there is a lot of things happening in March. A lot of deadlines are happening in March. One of them is also regarding Ripple case, but we'll get to that as well. Now, moving on, essentially, regarding what Standard Chartered Bank thinks the market is going to play out in. But also, one thing that Standard Chartered Bank did announce is that American states or the rest of the world is now going to follow Trump's footsteps even more, with Trump making the announcement of the crypto reserve, which is XRP, Solana, Cardano, Bitcoin, Ethereum. And the order that I just gave is the order from the tweet Trump announced. Not being biased, even though XRP is better, but that is the order that was essentially from the tweet Donald Trump sent out, which was XRP, Solana, Cardano, and then Bitcoin, Ethereum. But what I said a long time ago is that all the world market space, in terms of the Middle East or the UAE, in terms of the Middle Eastern countries, the Asian countries, or the European countries, they were all waiting to see what Trump's next footsteps are going to be. For example, so Singapore said they're waiting to see what the next footsteps are going to be. Hong Kong said the same thing. Japan said the same thing. South Korea said the same thing. The UAE was waiting on to see what Trump's next footsteps are going to be. The EU said the same thing. And now that all these countries know that the next step is America's crypto reserve is going to be XRP, Solana, Cardano, Bitcoin, and Ethereum, and there's probably going to be more added to the pot, we're probably going to see announcements coming in from all these countries around the world, one by one, saying they're also going to be creating a crypto reserve that's going to be a basket of cryptocurrencies, and we're going to start seeing the same assets in their baskets also, because the world follows America's footsteps. As much as the news will tell you nobody likes Trump, nobody follows Trump, people laugh at Trump, that's not the reality of the real world. Every leader in the world fears Trump, guaranteed. Every leader in the world fears Trump, guaranteed. And if they don't respect him, they're scared of him. I'll be very honest. But the American market space is the biggest market space on the planet. And every market space follows their footsteps. As the International Monetary Fund put it once, If the American markets sneeze, the world market catches a cold. Which means if the American market space is about to go towards something positive, the world's also going to follow their footsteps to go towards something more positive. Which means they created a crypto reserve of XRP, so on and so on. Just watch out for the announcements from other countries, other jurisdictions around the world. They're going to come up with the same basket of cryptocurrencies as reserve assets. Now, moving on, essentially from something I announced a long time ago, which came true now, to Binance. Binance, USDT, MiCA regulations. Before we talk about that, let's go inside the comment section first. As I said previously, this is live, which means if you do have any questions, put it down inside the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer the questions you may have. So let's go inside the comment section first, and then we go straight into Binance, USDT, and MiCA regulations in terms of the EU. Because there's a lot of things happening over there as well. So let's see where we were at. We were at here. Mouse, can you give us an update of what is coming in March? Yes, I can. 2 news down, I'm going to give you an update because it's relevant to the other news I'm going to be reading out. But yes, definitely I'm going to, Shelley. Once I get to that question, I'll come back to it. Once I get to that news, that part of the news, I'll come back to your question as well. But it's about 2 news down. Thanks, Eric. No problem. Anytime. Stormy, let's go. By Trump announcing XRP in the reserve, tell me the case is over. With Trump announcing essentially the XRPs inside the crypto reserve of the United States, the SEC has no choice but to work rapidly quicker than what they're working right now to drop the Ripple case. Because we can't have a crypto reserve with an asset that's been sued by the SEC. That just creates confusion. And it shows how the SEC is incompetent. Well, Gary Gensler was incompetent, but he left the SEC with a big task. But this just means that the SEC has to move 10 times faster to close this case, because now it's just embarrassing. It creates confusion, it's embarrassing, and so on. So all that pressure is on the SEC to pretty much close this case ASAP. ASAP. It'll be better even if they close this case with, pretty much both parties get to walk away and don't pay each other anything. That'll be even better. Now, in your opinion, has any importance the way those assets were listed? You could put Solana first or Adder. In your opinion, has any importance the way those assets were listed? He could put Solana first or Adder. He could. But there was a reason he mentioned XRP first when he made the first tweet. Everything happens for a reason, and we'll get the bigger picture as time passes by. Now, Binance, USDT, and essentially the MiCA regulations. Binance has reached its final deadline. Case is over, we just need it in writing, pretty much. As Flare XRP put it, the case is over, we just need it in writing now. Binance has reached their final deadline. Well, they're getting to the final deadline, which is by the end of this month, for USDT to be completely out from the EU. So here it is. Leading cryptocurrency exchange Binance has revealed plans to delist, essentially, not just USDT, but to delist USDT, DAI, and a lot of other stablecoins are going to be delisted essentially from the EU. So leading cryptocurrency exchange Binance has revealed plans to delist 9 stablecoins for users in the European Economic Area on March 31st, as regulatory pressure intensifies. So Binance got to a stage where they have no choice now. It's either delist USDT or get out of EU. And obviously Binance is going to delist USDT. The company noted that the affected stablecoins do not comply with the EU's regulations. And in an official blog post by Binance themselves, they stated that it will delist the largest stablecoin USDT along with 8 other stablecoins, including DAI, FDUSD, TUSD, USDP, AEU, essentially AEUR, UST, USTC, and PAXG. They're all getting delisted from the EU. And their trading pairs, EU customers, can still trade these assets until the deadline, which is March 31st. At the end of this month, no more in terms of these stablecoins, and no more USDT in the EU ever again. After the deadline, Binance will discontinue all trading pairs involving these stablecoins, and any remaining holdings can be sold through Binance Convert. Additionally, all pending spot orders will be terminated within 48 hours of the essentially reaching a deadline. And meanwhile, Binance noted that the MiCA compliant alternatives like USDC and EURI will remain available. Therefore, users are encouraged to convert their non-compliant stablecoin holdings to USDC or EURI, or fiat currencies, essentially like euros, before the deadline. So if you live in the EU, you need to be moving away from USDT, and your deadline is the end of this month. The exchange has also unveiled several essentially special offers, essentially geared towards assisting users in their essentially transition, including a zero-fee promotion and higher interest rates on earned products. There is also a $1 million USDC giveaway for users trading USDC. So if you live in the EU, for example, and you want to switch over, why wait till the end of the month? Because Binance is giving you essentially zero-fee trading services and some of the bonuses. So if you live in the EU, you might want to check out your Binance app, because Binance is giving you bonuses to make you move away from USDT before 31st of March. Otherwise, it's just going to be happening automatically. The exchange also unveiled several other key factors, and Binance's announcements comes off the backs of similar moves by several top exchanges, including Kraken. For example, Coinbase's CEO also, regarding Brian Armstrong, stated that the exchange could delist USDT if regulatory pressures persisted, which they did. And the recently announced introduction of MiCA frameworks imposes stricter essentially regulatory guidelines for crypto assets, including stablecoins. And the framework mandates every stablecoin issuer operating within the EU essentially to obtain authorization as a credit or electronic money institution. Additionally, these firms also provide comprehensive documentation of the key features and technical aspects of their tokens. And the framework is designed essentially to boost transparency and ensure consumer protection, because that is the only thing essentially the EU is thinking about, which is transparency when it comes to stablecoins, because it's a big thing. Having a stablecoin operate in your country that doesn't want to show transparency is a massive red flag, because if your country starts using, for example, USDT, and USDT doesn't show transparency, and one day USDT depegs, or we find out it doesn't have the assets it claims to have, then an entire economy that was using USDT could slide downwards, which is pretty much the worst thing that can happen. And we can have a massive 2008 scenario, which is the last thing the EU wants. So that is why they're asking for the most basic thing, which is transparency when it comes to stablecoins. But obviously, Tether's CEO sees it from a different perspective. USDT's CEO sees it from the perspective of the EU is trying to push them out. The EU is trying to make USDT fade out. And that's not the reality in any sort of a way. In fact, in my own opinion, not financial advice whatsoever, I think USDT is pushing themselves out. And the most simplest way to put it, they don't show transparency. They want to force their way into essentially any country to be used, but don't want to show us their portfolios. It's odd. Everything they're doing is odd. So my opinion, even though Tether's CEO says the politics are pushing them out, the EU is pushing them out, everybody's trying to move away from USDT and fade out, it's not that everybody's trying to go against USDT, but Tether is fading themselves out, the more secretive they become. Now, Tether decided to essentially do something about it last minute, which is this. Tether appoints a new CFO to boost financial transparency. So for the longest time, Tether's CEO rejected the EU and said, they're trying to push us out and we have no problems with transparency. But then again, when it gets to the last minute, Tether's CEO appoints a new CFO to boost transparency in Tether. Here it is. Tether is taking significant steps towards comprehensive financial audits by appointing Simon as the new chief, essentially, financial officer. So what's special about Simon? Well, Simon has over 20 years of experience in terms of 20 years of experience, and is expected to enhance the company's transparency, essentially, and regulatory relationships. This appointee symbolizes a transformation within the company and highlighted the transition of the former CFO to the group's presidency. Simon will guide Tether's essentially financial audit efforts and play a critical role in essentially implementing this new streak essentially initiatives. And Tether is committed to expanding its audit process, ensuring that its reserves undergo fully independent review. And currently, the company publishes reserve statements validated the BDO in every 3 months, but a comprehensive audit has yet to be completed. And in the past, criticism regarding essential reserves of Tether have arisen, especially following the 2021 investigation by the New York Attorney General related to Bitfinex, raising questions about the accuracy of the company's claims. And moreover, reports indicate that Tether's portfolio of essentially US Treasury bonds has surpassed $113 billion, with an announced profit of $13 billion for 2024. These figures are set to contribute to global liquidity and support dollars' access in emerging markets. Pablo, the essentially CEO of Tether, stated that it is prioritizing transparency in the company and showing determination regarding the full audit. And Simon, who's the new appointee, is the best choice with 20 years of experience. This appointee essentially is expected to accelerate the financial audit process and introduce anticipated innovations in corporate essentially governance and potentially strengthen trust in the market. The completion of the audit activities could allow for a detailed presentation of reserve data. Does this mean that Tether is going to worm its way back into the EU? No. I'll be honest, the EU doesn't want to use Tether because they were shady from the start, and now all of a sudden Binance was their last leg to stand on to be a part of the EU, and Binance is about to get rid of them. They put a final deadline. They said, we can't do it anymore. End of this month, we have to drop USDT because there's too much pressure for Binance from the EU. And this is when Tether decides to show transparency. Why didn't you show it at the beginning? So this just raises more questions for the EU. So the chances of Tether, even with their new Simon person, to get a full audit and come back into the circle, 0. Now, SEC. The SEC has done another positive thing for the crypto space, but that news, again, is being overshadowed by noise. Here it is. The SEC to withdraw the Kraken lawsuit with no penalties. So that means blockchain association case, gone, dropped completely. Crypto.com dropped, Coinbase dropped, Kraken dropped, Ripple pretty much left. Crypto exchange Kraken announced that the US Securities Exchange Commission, SEC, agreed to withdraw its lawsuit against the company with prejudice, meaning that essentially the case is permanently closed, pretty much forever. As per the announcement, there are no penalties required in terms of changes to Kraken's business or admonitions of wrongdoings. However, if Kraken is found later on doing some sort of fraud behavior, they can be sued again, but they're not committing any fraud behaviors. In the eyes of Gary Gensler, everybody was a fraudster except him. But the SEC originally sued Kraken in November 2023, accusing it essentially of operating as an unregistered security exchange and making hundreds of millions of dollars by trading unregistered essentially crypto securities. However, Kraken has continuously refuted the claims, claiming that the case was politically driven rather than investor protection focused, and it misrepresented its business strategy. Kraken described the dismissal as a significant win for the cryptocurrency sector in a statement. The company claims that the case was a component of the SEC's essentially regulation by enforce approach, which has hindered investments and innovation inside the United States. The SEC's decision to dismiss its lawsuit against us and many others is just a legal victory. It's a turning point for the future of crypto inside the United States. It ends a wasteful and essentially politically motivated campaign and lifts uncertainty that stifled innovation and investments and clears the path towards a much more stable and forward-thinking regulatory regime inside the United States. Kraken also credited the dismissal to the new leadership at both the White House and the SEC. expressing optimism about the government that will now take a more constructive approach to crypto regulations. The company reaffirmed its commitments to working with policymakers and regulators to create essentially clear guidelines that encourage responsible growth while ensuring investor protection. A stable, predictable regulatory framework will encourage responsible growth and attract investments and ensure the SEC remains competitive in the global asset economy, Kraken noted. That was their statement, essentially. I agree with it 100%. Look, what the SEC is doing is incredible. And again, it's being overshadowed by tariff news, which tariff news lasts about 48 hours max inside the crypto space. 24 hours, 36 hours, 48 hours. Whenever inside the crypto space, no financial advice in any sort of a way, whenever inside the crypto space, you see essentially tariff situations, the news comes out, CNN, for example, comes out, Trump does tariffs, oh no. The market will react in a bad way for max 48 hours. After that, the market will go the path it's supposed to do. So this whole tariff situation, don't let it essentially, don't get distracted by the noise is what I'm trying to say. Because behind the scenes, with Trump's essentially next moves in line, and with essentially the SEC keep on dropping cases one by one, these are extremely bullish news. In the past, for example, if Gary Gensler came out and said, we're dropping the Coinbase case, the market would have reacted in a positive way. If the SEC in the past came out and said, we're dropping the Crypto.com case, the market would have reacted in a positive way. We're dropping Kraken, market would have reacted in a positive way. Now, the SEC is silently dropping cases one by one. Market doesn't react. It also goes back to what I said a while ago, which was last year. It was in 2024, at the beginning of 2024, towards the end of 2023, I said the more money that enters the more institutions that come inside the crypto space, expect a lot more money, but also expect a lot more manipulation. So that factor is pretty much in play. But what the SEC is doing is incredible, and they're dropping it silently. It's just another thing that's brewing in the background. Essentially, the whole thing that I said on Thursday, where everybody was depressed. On Thursday, the majority of people inside the crypto space on Thursday were depressed because their favorite crypto influencers were telling them the market's about to go, to a bear market and collapse, is what was happening on Thursday. Everybody's favorite crypto influencer was telling them pretty much, the majority of crypto influencers were telling them, we're going into a bear market, this is it for Bitcoin, this is the end of the road for a crypto space. And I said, no, it isn't. And stop getting distracted and looking at the tip of your nose. Look beyond that. And again, we have another SEC dropping a case, but silently. Something's brewing in the background with the SEC dropping cases one by one, very silently. Trump, 2 orders now made. 1 executive order for America to be capital of cryptocurrencies, and the second one, essentially, which assets are inside the pot, starting with. And then the SEC is dropping cases one by one. The House of Representatives is about to be creating their own crypto task force. All American states are thinking about creating some sort of crypto reserve. The CFTC is about to be working with the SEC after a decade. Why? To bring out crypto regulations. FDIC is pro-crypto. Banks are ready, institutions are ready, Wall Street is ready, Morgan Stanley is ready. Morgan Stanley has been trying to help essentially blockchain companies go public. A lot of things have been happening. A lot of things have been happening. And they're all positive things. Every single one of these things I'm mentioning are positive for the crypto space. SEC dropping cases is positive for the crypto space. Trump signing that executive order, the biggest thing ever, which was America become capital of cryptocurrencies, was positive. And then following up with announcing which crypto projects inside of it, even more positive. Morgan Stanley mentioning that they're essentially helping blockchain companies go public. Morgan Stanley also mentioning they're introducing their crypto platform to their clients, retail and institutional. Wall Street, that didn't touch the crypto space for a 10-foot pole, announced that they're helping blockchain companies go public. Bank of America's executive said essentially they're also helping blockchain companies go public. Bank of America's CEO said at a World Economic Forum event recently that banks are ready to start using essentially digital assets. Bank of America also wants to introduce stable coins. There's a lot of positivity happening inside the crypto space. But it's all hindered down. It's just overshadowed by nonsense and noise. It's overshadowed by panic from people inside the crypto space. It's overshadowed by panic from crypto influencers, not everyone, but majority. It's overshadowed by tariff news, which actually is not a bad thing. Short-term bad, long-term very positive. So again, don't look at the tip of your nose, look further. A lot of good things are happening. And another one regarding the Kraken case. And on top of that one, essentially the SEC dropping a case, the US Senate to vote on overturning IRS crypto rule. What is this IRS crypto rule? Well, the United States will vote this week on a resolution seeking to overturn the Internal Revenue Service's crypto reporting rule, which industry players argue threatens the decentralized finance sector. Reports that the US senators were looking to overturn the IRS rule emerged at the end of February. March is a very big deal. A lot of things are happening in March, and this is what's going to be happening in March regarding the ruling of should the IRS have every right to know everything about you regarding your crypto wallet or not, because that will just hinder the whole fact about decentralized finance. In addition to the IRS crypto rule, lawmakers also are targeting the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau rule, which focuses essentially on digital payments applications. And for removal, Senator Ted Cruz recently introduced the resolution against the IRS. There was a rule under the Congressional Review Act, while Senator Pete essentially introduced a separate resolution to challenge the CFPB's rule. And the CRA provides an additional layer of congressional essential oversights, allowing lawmakers under essentially the OCC to review federal agency rules before they take effect. The IRS broker rule, announced in December 2024, is when it originally came out, mandates that decentralized crypto projects disclose operational details and tax information. The crypto industry reacted negatively to the regulation from the IRS, and arguing that this requirement would stifle essential innovation inside the United States. Meanwhile, the CFPB rule, introduced on January 10, 2025, proposes expanding consumer protection to digital asset space. It essentially includes stablecoins and other crypto payment options, aiming to apply to the Electronic Fund Transfer Act and Regulation E guidelines to the digital payment ecosystem. Analysts have also criticized the CFPB's rule, warning that it could negatively impact tech companies offering essential crypto wallets and payment apps. If the Senate votes to repeal the rules, both the IRS reporting requirements and the CFPB payment applications rule could be nullified. The push to remove agency regulations aligns with the broader effort by the new administration under President Donald Trump to shift away from the restrictive stance on crypto seen in the past under Biden's administration of circus freaks. Obviously, it doesn't say circus freaks in front of me. Just wanted to add that one in, because how could we not? Biden's administration was just a group of circus freaks. Now, what's the deadlines? What's the dates we're looking at essentially this month? Well, here it is. A day essentially after, so let's just start with this part. On March 3rd, a day after Trump's announcement around the crypto streak essentially reserve for the United States House and Representatives announced a new baptism crypto initiative. And the House Republican, as I said essentially earlier on, Tom Hemmer essentially and Democratic Ritchie came to the idea of creating a crypto reserve in the House of Representatives. So here it is. This was going to be happening March 6th. March 6th, the CFTC CEO form, the Commodities Futures and Trading Commission, will hold discussions on tokenized assets and stablecoins that can serve as collateral in future markets. So put down your calendars. March 6th, the CFTC is going to be talking about essentially tokenization when it comes to crypto assets. March 7th, the White House Crypto Summit, Donald Trump, David Sachs, and Bo Hinnens will host the first ever crypto summit at the White House, signaling a potential shift in US crypto policy is what's happening March 7th. These are all very bullish crypto, very bullish. Week of March 10th now. So we went March 6th is something happening in CFTC tokenization. March 7th, the first ever Trump, David Sachs, Bo Hinnens crypto essentially, summit that's going to be happening. And then March 10th, the Senate Banking Committee review. The Senate Banking Committee, led by the Republican lawmakers, is expected to conduct a markup session for Senator Bill, stablecoin bill, which essentially will set the new regulations for digital assets-backed currencies. We do have two essentially bills for stablecoins. One's the Genius Act and the other was a stablecoin bill. But this is what's going to be happening March 10th. The Senate Banking Committee is going to be talking about stablecoins and which act they're going to be processing through. March 21st, this is what's going to be happening. The SEC Crypto Roundtable. The Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, will host the first ever 5-paneled industry roundtable gathering input from crypto market participants. These are all extremely bullish, things that the SEC, things that the United States have never done. Having the first ever crypto summit with the President of the United States, with politicians. Having a crypto Caesar, essentially having a House of Representatives making announcements of creating their own crypto, essentially, group inside the House of Representatives. The SEC having the first ever roundtable to talk positively about the crypto space. And regarding that whole March 7th with the White House Summit, Crypto Summit, Donald Trump, David Sachs, and Bo Hemmings will host the first ever crypto summit at the White House. That's crazy. Signaling potential shift in US crypto policies. It's extremely bullish. This month is going to be absolutely incredible. This is what happens when you look beyond the tip of your nose. Because what everybody's looking at right now, the majority of people looking at right now inside the crypto space is price action. Why is the price down? Why is there tariffs? That's what everybody's looking at. But when you look beyond the tip of your nose, you're seeing all of these things that are coming up in March. The first ever crypto summit in the White House. That's something that's going to be reoccurring back to back. In addition, and I do think that the SEC, for example, has to get their act together a lot more faster, because if March 7th is going to be the SEC, if March 7th is going to be the first ever White House Crypto Summit, that's something that's going to be happening back to back, then the SEC better drop all of those cases before March 7th. In addition to these scheduled events, a Senate nomination hearing for Paul Atkins, President Trump's expected nominee for the SEC chair, is likely to be scheduled this month also. Everything is pretty much happening this month. US Crypto White House first ever summit this month. SEC having their first ever roundtable talking positively about the crypto space this month. House of Representatives thinking about creating their own crypto group announcement is going to be happening this month. Banking Summit talking about Stablecoin Act, which one to pass this month. And in addition, essentially, of all of those announcements regarding Paul Atkins becoming the SEC chairman, official SEC chairman, this month is what they're thinking about giving a deadline to it. And it's likely to be scheduled this month. It's confirmed Atkins is expected to take a more industry-friendly approach to crypto regulations compared to the current SEC leadership. Well, what it means by current is the weasel, Gary Gensler, who left a long time ago. Mark, right now, who's the acting chairman of the SEC, he's done a very good job. I'll be very honest. As an acting chair, essentially as an acting chairman of the SEC, Mark has done an extremely good job. And the proposals, essentially, with major regulatory discussions, policy proposals, and a White House summit, March could set the tone for crypto regulations and adoption inside the US for years to come. The reason why Trump announced, one of the reasons why Trump announced this whole crypto reserve plan of who is going to be inside of it, XRP, Solana, Cardano, Bitcoin, Ethereum, on essentially Saturday and Sunday, the reason why I announced it then is because when it comes up to March 7th, we're going to have the first ever White House Crypto Summit, where Trump is going to have all these powerful people in one room talking about cryptocurrencies. And before that happened, we had to have the announcement for the crypto reserve. So now we know why we had the announcement for the crypto reserve. And we also know why now on the SEC, they're dropping cases one by one. It's because we're getting to some deadlines. Is the reason why the SEC is dropping cases one by one. Because we're getting to some important deadlines where when we pass through those deadlines, it should be clear skies moving forward. because these deadlines are for regulations and policies, which is the only thing missing, pretty much the main factor that's missing from the crypto space. It's regulations. The faster we get regulations, the faster institutions and banks can join the crypto space and start utilizing crypto assets, which was the main point of cryptocurrencies. The reason why crypto was invented, the reason why blockchain was invented in the first place, was utility, to change how we function inside the financial sector, and it became essentially inside the AI in terms of gaming, web, going from Web 2 to Web 3, and it just expanded beyond that. But it's utility, that's the whole main point. So faster we get regulations, the faster we get utility. That's the main point, that's the main factor that's missing from the crypto space. And it looks like March is going to be when we're going to get some announcements on regulations, which explains why the SEC is dropping cases one by one. Now, also, with everything that's happening inside the United States, there's also things happening in the EU. Digital Euro Conference, for example, 2025, discussing the future of digital money. So when Trump is doing his big, essentially, crypto White House, crypto summit in the White House, and all these deadlines that are coming up in March, everything positive that's happening inside the United States, the EU is doing their own event, a crypto event, which is also positive. So here it is. Digital Euro Conference 2025 will feature discussions on developments in digital finance, bringing together leading experts, innovators, and policymakers to shape the future of digital money. Now, this isn't happening in March, but it's happening in the EU, with essentially a dynamic agenda focused on digital currencies, blockchain technology, stablecoins, and essentially innovations and payments. This will provide essentially a platform to explore the future of finance, from central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, to the latest tokenization trends. The event will feature throughout-provoking discussions led by experts from major financial institutions and central banks and fintech innovators. And the event, essentially, for fintech enthusiasts, policymakers, and investors are looking to deepen their understandings of digital currencies and network with top professionals and explore cutting-edge financial technologies for the financial sector. Whether you are interested in blockchain advancements, CBDCs, or stablecoins, this is the place to be in the EU. This massive blockchain event that's happening. And they will also explore some of the most pressing issues in digital finance, featuring essentially sessions across 3 dedicated tracks: the main stage, the innovation room, and the roundtable room. Some of the key sessions include the future of digital euros, is what they're going to talk about in one of the sessions, the future of digital euros. Dr. Alexandra, the Director of General Digital Euros at Deutsche Bank, will provide an update on CBDC developments for the EU. Big names, big announcements. Lessons from the European, essentially, from the ECB, wholesale CBDC trials. The senior representatives from the ECB, the European Central Bank, and National Bank, and Banque de France will share their insights from CBDC trials and their impacts on financial markets. Stablecoins under the lens, essentially fireside chat with Corsi will explore security, regulation, and interoperability into the stablecoin space. An introduction to the Wyoming essentially stablecoin Debra books will introduce the Wyoming stablecoin initiative and its implementations of crypto-backed digital assets. Tokenization in the mainstream. Experts from Banco Central do Brasil, the Central Bank of Brazil, is going to be attending the EU blockchain event of finance. And they're going to be talking about their CBDC, their stablecoin. SWIFT is also going to be attending this. Standard Chartered Bank is also going to be attending this. And we'll discuss how tokenization is reshaping the future of assets. The list of essentially banks and institutions attending this is crazy. The list is quite vast. And to essentially read out the entire list of essentially institutions going to be attending this, it's best to go to their website. But the golden essentially age of stablecoins, life after the MICA. A panel featuring experts from Circle, the European Commission, will explore regulatory frameworks and market adoptions of stablecoins post the MICAR. This massive European blockchain event serves as a premier platform for discussions on the future of digital finance. bringing together industry leaders, innovators, experts. Essentially, registration is now open for this landmark event, taking place, actually, my bad, it is also in March 27th. So, as Trump is doing his first ever White House crypto summit in March, Europe is also doing a massive event for blockchain, March 27th. March is just becoming a very interesting month. So far, we have 6 deadlines in March, and they're all major announcements. One of them is coming from the House of Representatives towards cryptocurrencies, very positive. The first ever White House Crypto Summit, also very positive. The announcements of essentially Paul Atkins becoming the SEC chairman, an actual chairman, not an acting one like Mark, could be this month as well in March. And then we have the stablecoin bill being talked about on the banking committee this month as well in March, on voting on which bill they're going to go for, Stablecoin Act or Genius Act. A lot of deadlines coming up in March, and this one's another one, March 27th, 2025. The program will feature in-depth discussions, expert insights, and networking opportunities. The Digital Euro Association is a think tank specializing essentially in crypto assets, stablecoins, central bank digital currencies, CBDC in other words, and any other form of digital money is what they're going to be announcing at the European blockchain event. And it is committed to independence in essentially amplifying the views of society and for the public good through knowledge exchange, encouraging new ideas and forward thinking in the field of digital money. The event is essentially an independent voice of citizens regarding digital money related topics. Partnerships and collaborations are no way endorsements of the partners' ideologies and products and services, nor political regimes. Pretty much every bank, you could say, every institution is going to be at this event in the EU. But at the same time, in March this month, a lot of events are happening in America in terms of their government as well. And it's all crypto related. And it's all bullish crypto related. Again, as you can see, if you look at the tip of your nose, you're seeing price action and tariffs and the market being on the verge of a war because Zelensky doesn't want to give it up. But if you look beyond the tip of your nose, you're looking at all of this, all the deadlines, positive deadlines that are happening in March, the SEC silently dropping cases, Trump getting ready for the first ever crypto, essentially White House summit event, which is going to revolutionize, in their words, everything about the crypto space. As I said, explains why the SEC is dropping cases one by one before that deadline comes up. Or essentially you have the SEC doing their first ever roundtable talking positively about the crypto space. A lot of things happening this month. It's all positive. But some people are getting distracted by noise. Don't let the distraction, essentially don't let the noise distract you in any sort of a way. And that news essentially was when Shelley asked the question. So Shelley essentially asked the question on inside the chat. Shelley said, Miles, can you give us an update? What is coming in for March? That's all the things that's happening in March. 5 events inside the United States, all positive for the crypto space. 1 event inside the EU in March as well. Extremely positive for the crypto space as well. Now, the Fed is what we're going to talk about next. But actually, before we talk about the Fed, let's go start the comment section first. As I said previously, this is live, which means if you do have any questions, put it down in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer the questions you may have. So, let's go start the comment section first. Let's see where we were at. Sorry, I just kicked the by mistake. Let's see where we're at. We were at here. Thanks. Let's go. Eric, no problem. We always knew they would include XRP. Facts. We always did knew they would essentially create, Trump would always include XRPs. Facts. Let's go, Shelley. Facts. Let's go, Stormy. By Trump announcing XRP's reserve, tell me the case is over. Pretty much yes. Case is over. We just need writing yes. Happy birthday, Miles, 2 days ago. Susie, thank you so much for the birthday wish. Good morning, Miles, and CMF. Ghost Burner, good to see you. How you doing? Morning. Will the deadline on USDT in the EU affect us in the UK in any way? No, just the EU. Too late for Tether now to fix themselves up? Yes, I agree. Hi, Miles and CMF. Peg, good to see you. How you doing, Peg? How you been? Corruption is brewing, gaslighting. I get it. It's just frustrating sometimes how manipulated it is. Yeah, I agree. Facts. Let's go Shelley again. And Dan, yeah, I get the point regarding corruption. Is that market space? But corruption is always going to be there. But with regulations, there's going to be less. And that's when I think XRP will settle with a new person from the SEC will be appointed so he can start the fireworks. Interesting perspective. QE didn't start yet. Thank you for that. Now, thank you for that. Fed. So let's go in and out for a second. In and out is basically a segment that I'm doing on the CMF lives from here and there. And what I mean by in and out is we're going to go in and out of crypto for a second, but it's relatively still, part of that space. So here it is. The Fed, Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency is, as we all know, looking into a lot of US departments who are wastefully spending taxpayer money. Some people in America agree with essentially Trump and Elon Musk on the corruption they're finding, and they're saving taxpayers money. And there are some people inside of America that disagree and that say that Elon Musk should continue the corruption, that Elon Musk should let the corruption continue in America and nobody should be looking at other people's taxpayer information. Those people are morons, I'll be very honest. If someone is willingly risking their life to stop corruption in the biggest market space in the world, in the biggest country in the world, most powerful country in the world, honestly, someone like Elon Musk has decided to risk their life, genuinely risk their life, because who knows what he's going to be unraveling on those folders, on those files. So someone like Elon Musk decided to risk his life and his 5 or 6 employees who are very young on finding corruption essentially in inside the United States. And there are people criticizing him for that, which is crazy to think about for a second. Honestly, very crazy to think about that. That these people are trying to help people and stop the tax thing, essentially the tax wasting money. People are against it. Just blows my mind. But Elon Musk decided to look into the Fed as the next step. Makes sense. The Fed, definitely some corruption going on there. And well, this is what's happened. Fed Michael Barr permanently resigns ahead of Elon Musk's Doge audit. I mean, they're definitely going to look into him now from the Fed. Michael Barr is officially out. The Federal Reserve Vice Chair for Supervision has stepped down from his role, leaving a major gap in the central bank's Committee on Supervision and Regulation. So this man was in charge of supervising essentially and regulations, and he decides to step down permanently before Elon Musk entered the building to audit it regarding the Fed. His exit, confirmed last week, removes essentially only officially in charge of overseeing banking regulations, just as Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, Doge, intensifies their efforts to audit the Fed's monetary policies. Barr's resignation means that the committee now has only 2 members, Philip and essentially Michelle, will all essentially 7 Fed governors still have a vote of regulatory matters. There is no longer a lead essentially in the official guiding of the bank's oversight. The timing of his departure is no accident. In January, Michael Barr warned that staying in a role could lead to political showdown with President Donald Trump, and he'd rather than fight it out and just leave. The vice chair essentially of supervising in terms of role was created under the Dodd-Frank Act after the 2008 financial situation. The 2008 financial situation essentially being when the banks were giving out properties like they were giving out free samples and crashing the entire market space. And after 2008 mega situation, they decided to put Michael Barr essentially, created this department and eventually putting Michael Barr in charge of this department to make sure that nothing ever happens inside the United States like 2008 ever again. And ironically, the man that was in charge of making sure 2008 corruption never happens again decides to permanently resign before Doge's government efficiency, Elon Musk, comes in and audits the place. The guy that was in charge to make sure America never collapses like 2008 ever again because of too much corruption quits before Elon Musk comes in to check the Fed and audit them. The ironicness in that situation, this man's in charge of making sure corruption doesn't happen, and he quits before they come and audit the Fed. Trump will essentially have to appoint a new chair from the existing board since the next vacancy doesn't open up until 2006. But for now, the Fed's regulatory leadership essentially is in limbo. Musk has turned his voice to the Federal Reserve workforce, calling the central bank absurdly overstaffed. I agree. It's second time in months he's made the acquisition, previously posting the same claim in December. This time, Musk shared a graph of the Fed's employment numbers with the caption, "End the Fed." Responding to the Fed is absurdly overstaffed. Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, Doge, has already forced thousands of federal workers to essentially justify their jobs by submitting detailed emails on their work activity. Why not? I'm sorry, if you're working for a company, you pretty much have to do the same thing. So why don't government members also do the same thing as well and say what they're doing? Now, the agency is setting its insights on the 24,000 employees across the Fed's headquarters and 12 regional banks. Unlike most government agencies, the Fed doesn't rely on Congress for funding. Instead, it makes its money from interest on government securities. But the central bank has been operating at a deficit due to the high interest rates on bank reserves. And that's where Doge comes in. Musk is targeting essentially the Fed's $6.8 trillion balance sheet, which is already audited by the Government Accountability Office, GAO, and private firms. His concern is the decision-making process behind interest rates and monetary policies. Musk's essentially push comes at a critical moment. Trump's executive order last essentially Tuesday has already stripped some of the Fed's authority over big banks, shifting power to political appointees and agencies like the Securities Exchange, SEC, or the FTC. The order, however, leaves the Fed's monetary policy untouched for now. The idea of a Fed audit isn't new. Republicans have been pushing for it since 2015 with the Federal Reserve Transparency Act, also called Audit the Fed, essentially Audit the Fed. The bill, which essentially aimed to make interest rate decisions subject to congressional approval, never gained traction last year. Senators, for example, Chuck and Rand Paul tried to revive it, but failed again. Well, I know for a fact, in my opinion, on why the Fed was never audited last year or the year before or the year before. Well, guess who was in charge? Biden's administration. Biden's administration washed so much money, they made Pablo Escobar look like a joke, because it was never on paper of how much they were washing. Now, with Trump back in office and Musk backing the ideas, the debate has resurfaced. Musk was essentially asked at a conservative gathering last essentially Thursday whether the Fed should be audited. His response, yeah, sure. Trump's new executive order already gives essentially his appointees more power over federal agencies, but the Fed's monetary policy remains outside the reach. And that could change quickly if the push for audit gains momentum. Earlier this month, essentially people on X have been posting that all aspects of the Fed should be fully audited. Musk agreed, replying, all aspects of the government must be fully transparent and accountable to the people. No expectations, including if they're not, especially the Federal Reserve. The Doge essentially audit department efforts hit a roadblock this month when a federal judge essentially temporarily blocked Musk's department from accessing the Treasury Department's payment system, but that hasn't slowed down the momentum in any sort of a way. And the financial sector is pushing back. Former essentially Fed chairman Ben warned against political interference in monetary policies, writing essentially in 2016 that the Fed make decisions with the best essentially technical information available, and that political interventions in monetary policy decisions would not lead to better results. Yes, they would. Wall Street executives are also weighing in after Trump's November election victory. Bank of America's CEO Brian and essentially Lazard's CEO Peter argued that an independent Fed is the economy's best interest. Roger, a former Fed vice chair, told CNBC last month an independent Fed is good for the US, an economy which is turning for the good for everyone. Not sure about that one. And for now, Trump's Treasury essentially Secretary, Scott Benson, insists that there is no plan to interfere with the Fed. And essentially, the Senate confirmation hearing in January, Benson said, I think on the monetary policy decision, the Fed should be independent. Well, I disagree. The Fed shouldn't be that much of an independent organization in any sort of a way. And just like anything else on this planet, the Fed should also be scrutinized. Look, if we're going to be scrutinized for the rest of our lives on everything we do, honestly, if I create something, I'm getting taxed. If I produce something, I'm getting taxed. If I sell something, I'm getting taxed. If I sell something that I bought a long time ago, I'm getting taxed. And what I'm trying to say regarding the taxing situation is that I get audited all the time. Everybody gets audited. Everybody on this planet who's from the retail section gets audited. If you're an employee, you get audited. If you're self-employed, you get audited. Everybody gets audited. So what in the hell are we giving a free pass to one of the biggest organizations in the world for? Well, they shouldn't be audited, but we should be? No. If we're going to get audited, everybody should be audited. And I don't think there'll be anyone against that. I don't think not even one person would say, no, you know what, we should not look into what they're doing. Let them do whatever they want. Well, if they're going to do whatever they want, then we should have a choice of to do whatever we want. But we don't. So if we don't get a choice, they shouldn't either. So I think Elon Musk, regarding his essentially government of DOGE, the government of Department of Government Efficiency, on what they're trying to do regarding auditing the Fed, I think is a good idea. Audit everything, every department. If we get audited, they should also. I think fair is fair. And I think everybody will agree with that. Now, XRP. Moving on. In and out is finished. When essentially in and out came back in now, XRP. The big case of when are we going to get the ending? When are we going to get the XRP ETF? When are we going to get the Ripple case ending? And so on. And now that we've had this major announcement with XRP being a part of the crypto reserve, and essentially in Trump's tweet it said XRP first. That's also a sign. Well, here's some info. XRP ETF approval nears. Will Ripple settle with the SEC beforehand, or the SEC settle with essentially Ripple? The cryptocurrency industry has seen new developments under Trump's government, with a shift in regulatory board, especially the leadership in the SEC, has seen legal cases surrounding crypto firms to stop diminishing. This change in legal case surroundings crypto firms could potentially open doors for crypto-related products like ETFs and futures for these assets. However, for XRP, the situation gets a little bit complex. Ripple and the US Exchange Commission, SEC, are engaged in a legal battle that is nearing 5 years old. And recently, the US government announced XRP essentially in their reserve asset. It was the first asset they announced. It was XRP, Solana, and then Cardano. In addition, this also raises concerns about whether Ripple will settle with the SEC before an XRP ETF gains approval. It's not about Ripple settling. Ripple wants to. It's about the SEC settling. A wave of dismissed SEC cases has essentially shifted the landscape for more popular cryptocurrencies such as XRP, Solana, and Cardano, as previously published. Assets that essentially are regulatory actions and labeled these assets as unregistered securities the previous administration, leading to major exchanges like Robinhood, Coinbase, and Kraken being under the bus, which Kraken essentially got dropped as a lawsuit with the SEC today. However, legal challenges essentially, and analysts see a clearer path for these digital assets to be integrated into the regulated financial products. Bloomberg, for example, ETF analyst James recently shared his insights on the matter essentially in an interview with a news outlet. According to James, the ETF analyst, specialist analyst from Bloomberg, these cryptocurrencies were directly cited in an SEC lawsuit, complicating their classification and limiting essentially their availability because of that lawsuit that happened essentially a long time ago. And now, as legal pressure is easing, the likelihood of ETFs and futures are tied to these assets is increasing, which means their cases have to get dropped. Unlike other cryptocurrencies, XRP is still entangled in a legal battle with the SEC, and Ripple has jubilated some key victories, but certain aspects of the case remain unsolved. It's not that they're unresolved. It's just that Gary Gensler decided last minute to appeal a case and then leave. With appeals still in progress, notably, this ongoing litigation makes XRP's path to an ETF a little bit more complex than the rest. And Eric, who's also a Bloomberg ETF analyst specialist, believes an XRP ETF is still possible, very possible. But the outcome of Ripple's case will be the decisive factor in this matter. He highlighted the possibilities of a settlement, stating, this is what Eric said, the Bloomberg ETF specialist analyst, XRP is a little bit different because they have the direct lawsuit between Ripple and the SEC. That will likely need to be sorted before we can see an ETF on there, which is what I said a long time ago as well, that it will be strange to get an ETF approval for XRP, but the case isn't dropped. So the case is going to get dropped first, and then the ETF announcement. But now with Trump announcing essentially the crypto reserve, and XRP was the first crypto asset mentioned on that reserve, Trump is putting more pressure on the SEC to drop this Ripple case now. I think Ripple, with all their back-to-back meetings with Trump, instead of Ripple essentially having that sit down with the SEC, even though the SEC is very pro-crypto now, instead of Ripple having a sit down with the SEC, they decided just to go to the big boss. Sometimes you don't have to talk to the people around the big boss. You can just go straight to him, which is what Ripple did and got their name on that reserve asset. And he said, Eric said, I think it's also a little different in the sense that I don't know that it's going to be likely fully dropped in a way as some of these other ones are. There's probably going to be some sort of a settlement with Ripple's case that is going to be playing out. It's either going to be dropped or it's going to be a settlement. What we do know is that this case has to go, essentially has to get dropped ASAP now. There's no possibility of this case continuing forward in any sort of a way, especially that we have the massive first ever White House crypto summit. That's going to be an event that's going to be essentially, happening. And Trump is going to make big announcements. And his crypto picks for his crypto reserve was XRP, Solana, Cardano, and then he mentioned Bitcoin, Ethereum. And XRP can't have an ongoing case. So with what Trump did on his announcement, and then March 7th is coming up to the White House Crypto Summit, first one ever, he's put a lot of pressure on the SEC. So we're going to be seeing the ending of the SEC case incredibly quick, with Ripple essentially in the SEC, incredibly quick. And my first predictions at the beginning of the year were Q1 to Q2 is when the Ripple case essentially will end. Still sticking to it, but that's exactly when it's going to end. But now, putting everything aside, or everything that I've read today, and just taking the most important bits out, if you're looking at the market space now, for example, and you're seeing the market space in terms of price points, not much is happening. What you need to understand is that on Thursday, not much was happening either. When the market was down, and the majority of crypto influencers said, we're going to go into a drastic bear market, is what everybody said on Thursday. I said, no, we're not. Because back then, on Thursday, essentially, I said, same thing I'm saying today right now to you. A lot of things are brewing in the background. A lot of positive things are brewing in the background. And with the SEC dropping cases back to back, still, silently, with Trump's executive order for America to open capital cryptocurrencies, Trump's announcements of which crypto is involved and XRP is involved. With every positive thing that's going on, the SEC doing their first ever roundtable, the SEC, I'm talking positive about the crypto space, the SEC is essentially coming with the CFTC after a decade to bring regulations to the crypto space. The House of Representatives wants to create their own crypto task force, which essentially was announced today. And all this is happening in the month of March. There's so many positive things happening, and a lot of things are brewing in the background. So if you're somebody that's looking at the market space now and thinking, well, that's it, the pump's over, everybody go home, this is it. This is just the beginning. Because if you think Trump signing an executive order for crypto to become the capital of, for America to become the capital of cryptocurrencies was nothing a while ago, and I said it's a big deal, and then we did the announcement of this, all I can say to you is the last stage, something that I said 2 years ago. So if you're part of the CMF 2 years ago, you're watching me on this live 2 years ago, I said to everybody, the last stage that everybody's going to go through is frustration. I said, when you enter the crypto space, you're going to go through every step. You're going to go through every step. You're going to go through the ups, the downs, the panics, the FUD. You're going to go through every stage inside the crypto space. And the last stop for most people is going to be frustration. And the reason why the last stop is frustration is because we're so close to the finishing line that some people decide to bail or get distracted by noise. Don't get distracted by noise. Don't let frustration kick in. And don't look at the tip of your nose. Look beyond the tip of your nose, as my father always told me. Because there's a lot of things happening around you that are all extremely positive inside the crypto space. As I said to you on Thursday, there's a lot of things brewing. And then on Saturday, we had the major announcement of what Trump's picks are for a crypto reserve. Something that I said is going to be happening when the first time the announcement came out, he's going to do it. I said always, it's going to be basket of cryptocurrencies. So don't get distracted by the noise. Once again, there's a lot of things happening and brewing in the backgrounds. Just don't look at the tip of your nose. Look further beyond, and you'll be good to go. And stop getting distracted by tariff news. Tariffs, essentially implementations inside the market space, 48 hours max. After that, there'll be another news inside the market space that's extremely positive. And we're not that far off from positive news. March 7th is pretty much around the corner, which is the first ever White House Crypto Summit. So, on that note of don't get distracted, don't let frustration get to you because we're right next to the finishing line. And don't look at the tip of your nose, look further. Because the people that looked further on Thursday, instead of looking at the tip of their nose, they got the benefit from the Trump announcement of the crypto reserve. And on that note, we have reached the endings of tonight's live. All good things must come to an end, which they did now. So, if you're watching this for the first time ever, and you're wondering, what is this and who am I? My name is Miles. I go by the name of essentially Crypto Miles. And I host this live that you're watching right now. And the live essentially name is called CMF. It stands for Crypto Miles Family. It was a name that essentially we all came up together with inside the CMF. And on this live, you can tune in essentially Monday to Friday, 11:25 p.m. UK time, where I talk about the most recent news that's happening around the world in terms of cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, AI, politics, regulations. So if you ever want to be informed about about everything that's happening inside the crypto space, the most vital information, tune into this live Monday to Friday, 11:25 p.m. UK time onwards. So in other words, tune in tomorrow or tonight because it's 1:20 a.m. But tune in tomorrow for episode 273 of the CMF Live. If you haven't already, like, comment, share, follow, subscribe, and tune in Monday to Friday, 11:25 p.m. UK time, United Kingdom time. Or just subscribe and follow and turn on the bell notification. And this live is free forever. You can tune in Monday to Friday, it's free forever. We also have our own Telegram group, which anybody is more than welcome to join, which is also free forever. And we have our own X communities page, Crypto X communities page for this live. It's called the Crypto Mouse Family Lounge, which is, the live lounge. If you want to join it as well, go for it. That's completely free as well. So let's go to the comment section before we do leave. Let's see what's going on in there. But we have came to the endings of tonight's live. Your thoughts on Omega X health? I need to look into it. Put a comment outside the live. I'll take a look into it, give you a perspective on it. No problem. There's so much good news about manipulation. The market sucks, but you did say last year that this would happen. I did. That's true. Michael Barr is going to regret leaving Ripple. Facts. Night Miles of CMF. Pablo, see you tomorrow. Same time as usual. Thanks, legend. Night and day CMF. Always keep us calm during turbulence. Let's go, Shelly. See you tomorrow. Same time as usual. Mike, good night, Miles and CMF. Thank you, Mike. Let's go. See you tomorrow, sometime as usual. Great live as always, Miles. Have a great night and see you same time tomorrow. Let's go autistic. See you tomorrow, sometime as usual. Thanks, Miles. Good night, everyone. See you tomorrow. Orphan, see you tomorrow, sometime as usual. Thanks, Miles. Scott, let's go. See you tomorrow, sometime as usual. Good night, family. Any last thoughts on XDC? Any last thoughts on XDC? Incredible project. Definitely worth looking into. And on that note, it's great to be back. See everybody tomorrow. Same timing as usual. CMF, see you all tomorrow. Same time as usual. Anybody else new that's joining the CMF Live? See everybody tomorrow. Same time as usual. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you are around the world. See you tomorrow. Same time as usual. 11:25 p.m. UK time onwards. Thanks, Miles. Good night to you and CMF. Let's go, Stormy. See you tomorrow. Same time as usual. See everybody tomorrow for episode 273 of the CMF Live. Good night, Miles. Let's go, Free XRP. See you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Core and TI is good. Core 50/50. Thanks, Miles. Have a great night and day, everyone. Let's go, Ghost Spawner. See you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Like, if you haven't already done it, like, comment, share, subscribe, and retweet. See you tomorrow, same time as usual.